Hi friends, this is Mrs. Mapula and this is a tutorial showing you how to create the Dizzy Dot prints. First, you want to make sure you have all your art supplies. That includes a white piece of paper. If you received the sketchbook in your art kit, that'll work just fine. If not, any piece of white paper will do. You'll also need a large styrofoam plate. You can also maybe use a recycled meat tray that's been washed. You'll need a scissors, pencil, 2 paintbrushes, preferably one that is small and one that is medium. You will need black acrylic paint, crayons or oil pastels, and possibly even something to cover the table. Once you have collected all of your supplies, you're going to get started with your piece of paper. Now, instead of cutting the piece of paper to measure it, we are going to fold it first. So you're going to take one corner of your piece of paper and you are going to fold it so that you meet the edge of the other side of the paper. You'll notice that there is some space right here that is not included in that fold. That is perfectly fine. That's what you want. Now, once you've done that, you're going to open it back up and you're going to take that corner and you're going to fold it to meet that first crease you created. What this is going to do is it's going to allow you to then cut at the edges and you will have a perfect square to create our Dizzy Dot prints today. So we're going to cut that square. We're going to hold on to that and then we're going to put our scrap paper to the side. Because now that we have this cut, we can now open it and we have our perfect sized square. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my plate, my styrofoam plate. I'm going to put my square that I just cut on top, and then I'm going to take a pencil and I am going to gently outline it. And the reason I say gently is because I'm not stabbing into the surface to cut through it. I'm just getting a nice pencil line as I hold my square down and trace around the outside. Now, this is now going to give me the opportunity to go in and cut out that square that I just traced. Please be careful with this. You might even need your learning coach to help you with this portion, but it should cut pretty nicely. Once that's cut out, you now have your two squares. You have your paper square and your styrofoam square. We are going to put down a little table protector backing, and then we're going to start with our paper square. On your paper square, you are going to put a very tiny dot where you think the center is. You do not have to measure this out. It does not have to be very precise, but you do want a general idea of where you're going to get started in the center of your square. Once you have that small dot, you can then grab your crayons or your oil pastels and you're going to begin by, guess what? Putting a dot right in the center. So you're going to put that dot or that circle in the center and you're just going to color it in solid. Notice about the size of my dot. Once you have that first dot complete, we are then going to use some of our other colors. Around that dot, we're going to make another dot or circle, right? So I'm going to get another color. I'm going to start to color in or draw that next circle around it. It's starting to look kind of like a target or bullseye. But by creating these dots or these circles, we're creating what's called a concentric circle. So we're just going to continue this process. So I have colored in and I'm now working on my second circle, and you're going to do the same. Now moving on to my next circle, I want you to notice when I draw these circles and then color them in, how solid they look. I try to fill it in so I don't see any white space. This portion of this project, creating these concentric circles to fill our square, takes the most time. So this is the most time consuming portion. So don't give up on yourself. You want to make sure you're colored in solid, that we're going to fill that page up with our concentric circle that's continuing on with our different colors. You can choose whatever colors you'd like. That's the fun part, huh? We're getting closer. We've almost filled that page up. You might say, Mrs. Mapulip, my hand's starting to get tired. But don't give up. We're so close. Now, once we get to the edges, I want you to pay close attention to how I add this last circle, right? Because I don't have space to draw in a completely whole new circle, but I'm thinking about if this circle continued, what it would look like from one side to the other. So I have kind of these curved lines near the edges, but I'm using that same color because I'm imagining if this was a complete circle, what it would look like. And it is almost to the edge, but not quite. So I want to leave a little space on each corner, each side. I'm going to do that same thing with my next color. If I still have a little space. Now, not everyone is going to have exactly the same amount of circles. You don't want your circles so big that you only have like 3 colors on there, but you also want to think about if you're making your lines teeny tiny, you're going to have a lot of circles, but it's also going to take you much, much longer. So we want to make sure that they're not too small, they're not too big, but we still might have a few different amounts of circles per person. Now, I'm going to scoot this to the side, and then I'm going to get my styrofoam square. I am going to get my smaller paintbrush, but notice this. Am I using the side with the paintbrush on it? No, I'm using the other side. What this is allowing us to do is use a dull end of the paintbrush. It's not going to be sharp. It's not going to poke a hole through your styrofoam. So I have taken my dull side of my paintbrush. I have found the center, and after I found the center, I am kind of not carving all the way through, right? But I'm putting kind of these indentions into my styrofoam. But I want you to notice the way I'm adding different lines and designs. I am wrapping them around that center point, right? So we have a center point, and we are going to add lines and designs that continue around that point. And we're using the dull side of our paintbrush to imprint them or press them into the surface. So when we run our hand over these lines and designs we're creating, we literally can feel that texture in the surface. And we're going to do the same thing we did on our concentric circle square. We are going to make sure we feel our lines and designs all the way up to the edge. We're getting close right now, right? You can use mine as inspiration, but don't feel like you got to use the same exact lines and designs or colors, really. Remember, we're all artists here, so I want you to try to be your own artist and your own original ideas with maybe some different lines and designs. A couple I used are wavy and zigzags and dots. You might even use some shapes or other triangles. Those are just a couple other ideas. But whatever you do on one side, you're going to do it on all sides. You're wrapping it around, right? Because it's all spinning out from the center point. It's creating a circle around it each time we're adding these new designs in. All the way up to the edges. All right, we're getting close. Put those final touches on there. Now, once you get your final touches on your artwork, we are going to go ahead and put them side by side. This is the part where it's really, really important to make sure you have something protecting your table, because you're going to grab your black acrylic paint and your medium brush. I really like a sponge brush for this, but any sort of brush will work. But what I'm doing is I'm dabbing the paintbrush in the paint, but I'm going to get it kind of what I call tacky or sticky. You don't want it super, super wet, because when you paint this black acrylic over your design on your styrofoam, you do not want your paint to be so runny and so much that it is going all over the place and going into kind of your indentions. You want it to be kind of lightly painted on the surface. Now you can see it all over my surface. Notice that the surface area itself, the top, you don't really see the white. Now you can see the white where the indentions are, but you want a flat, smooth layer. Now, I am going to flip this. This is the fun part, right? I'm going to flip this, but I'm going to be very careful because I want to try to line it up to my square paper as much as possible. And then I'm going to gently press it in. Now, I am pressing it in, right? But the reason I say gently is because you don't want to do what's called rubbing around. You want it to go flat down, pressed in, not gliding, sliding, rubbing, right? Now, you're going to put one finger down and make sure you are holding your paper in place, right? And with the other hand, you're going to gently lift up, and it's going to reveal your beautiful